Turns out 2024 Dork was right. The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 is one hell of a great value. First, let me apologize. My original ambition with this long-term loan of the Himalayan 450 was to get it to 1,000 miles and do a true 1,000 mile review for you. I like to do this because it allows me to form impressions over a few months of riding and taking the bike through various real-world conditions, situations, and trips. However, I only get to keep this bike for a limited time, and so was faced with the choice between forcing myself to put another 300 miles on it just to say I did, or just to review the bike now. So up to this point, I have taken the bike OHV trail riding, I've taken it moto camping, I've taken it on the freeway, I did the drop and the pickup test, I did what I like to call my typical ADV ride, 2 hours on the highway and an hour on the forest roads. I did a longish road trip of about 4 hours, I took it into the snow twice, and I did an oil change and swapped the tires. I also made a separate motorcycle camping specific review video for the Moto Camp Nerd channel, which I'll link for you. Everything I just said that I've done, there is a video of it. All of those things are in the Himalayan 450 playlist here on the channel. I have tested all the various scenarios that I wanted to know about, except maybe super technical, sandy, rocky terrain. But most of the places I want to go to do that are under snow right now. The only thing left for me is this review and a side-by-side comparison with the Ibex that is coming any day, supposedly. We'll see when it actually shows up. This being a demo bike that I have to pass on, I can't take my time with it like I can bikes I own. So I apologize for this not being a true 1,000 mile review video, but it's also not the same as the whole I rode it for one day review I did after attending the launch in Utah. My goal with these long-term reviews is to evaluate the experience of owning and riding a motorcycle. Can you live with it? Will it do all the things a typical ADV rider will want to do? And most importantly, who is it for? First things first, I want to jump into the specs, but before I do, I want to say thanks to Fanttik for sponsoring this video and for sending me their super cool retro 90s style see-through plastic version of the X9 tire inflator, which we'll talk about in a minute. Start with some specs on the Himalayan 450. It is a 432-pound single-cylinder adventure bike. It has 39.5 horsepower, 9.1 inches of ground clearance, and 7.9 inches of suspension travel. The front fork is inverted, and it is a Showa setup. It has a 6-speed transmission, fuel injection, a 4.5-gallon fuel capacity, 4 ride modes. Front wheel is 21 inches, the rear wheel is 17 inches. It comes with tube tires, but you can get a tubeless model for $100 extra as long as you want the black or the white. It comes in 4 colors: Kaza Brown, Slate Himalayan Salt, Slate Poppy Blue, Hanley Black, which is what I have, and Kamet White. It has a 4-inch round TFT display. The suspension is not adjustable, though you can adjust the rear preload. It has a 2-position seat with a 32.5 and a 33-inch seat height option, and there's also a low seat available with a 31.7-inch option, so it's very approachable. The MSRP on this bike is $57.99 for the base brown, up to $6,099 for the black and white tubeless models. The Hanley Black tubed model right in front of you comes in right at $6,000. So let's start with the pros. What do I like about it? What are the things that make me happy that I think they got right on this bike? There are a lot. I think it's a great bike, particularly for the money. There is a full suite of OEM aftermarket parts, and they are reasonably priced. I set up a Hanley Black bike just like this one on their configurator with OEM handguards, crash guards, and panniers and racks, and it was $7,133. And the great thing about doing the OEM accessory is not just because they're inexpensive and you know they'll fit, but also you can finance them with the bike, and often they'll give you a discount if you buy them with the bike. So that's another option to get the stuff if maybe you don't have the cash on hand, but you can afford to finance a couple $100 more. You can get a fully set up bike ready to go adventure for $7,100, and that includes panniers in which you can carry a lot of camping gear, I know because I took it camping. This bike is very smooth, very easy to ride, and very forgiving. It feels stable and planted both on and off the road. The stock suspension is the thing I just keep raving about. It has no right to be this good. I cannot bottom it. It is stiff and responsive, and yet not soft and easily bottomed out, even with a heavy rider like me on it. It's really good, even though it isn't adjustable, and I've ridden a lot of stock bikes with garbage suspension, and I just am continually shocked and amazed at how good the suspension on this bike is. Or at least it's good enough that a novice like me, an intermediate rider like me, me can't tell the difference. It feels good to me. And if you don't know any more about suspension than I do, it'll feel good to you too. It comes with a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, and tank crash protection is stock. You do not need to buy any kind of crash protection for the tank. Those front crash bars are a good place for like mounting bags with a tire changing kit or a first aid kit inside. So you got a little extra real estate, some more room for creativity because it comes with those. It's even got loops here that are designed for straps to pass through. The seat height is very low. It's a great bike for beginners and for short riders or anyone that just likes to be able to get their feet down. A lot of adventure bikes just have prohibitively high seats. This one does not. It's very accessible and approachable because of that seat height. It has plenty of power for highway riding. You just have to shift a lot because it's only a 450. It's got enough weight to not get blown around on the freeway, and it can handle freeway riding with room to spare for accelerating out of trouble, etc. I tested it on the freeway. It'll cruise comfortably at 75, and you can accelerate at a reasonable pace up to about 85, but it is not a dual sport that is barely surviving on the freeway. It's surviving with a little bit left to give in case you need it. This bike has an ABS switch on the bars. It's right here. You hold it down, you can switch the mode, turn the ABS off without doing a bunch of menus and crap. All you have to do is stop, and it takes about 5 seconds. Compare that to some other more expensive adventure bikes I've owned, like the Transalp, where it is basically a Rubik's Cube of menus you have to navigate, and it takes 2 minutes every time to turn off traction control and ABS. This bike doesn't have traction control, but you can turn the ABS off really quickly from this button. You can also switch modes. It's the same button, and you just use the D-pad joystick over here. This 4-inch TFT display is gorgeous. One of the coolest things I've ever seen on a motorcycle. The app is okay in terms of phone connectivity, but I'm gonna have to say that the big feature they try to promote is the Tripper Dash, which is you can put your navigation right on the dash, which is great, except you have to leave your phone on the whole time and it's real clunky, and I just don't think most people are gonna do that. But you can control your music and your messages and answer phone calls with the D-pad on the handlebars, and that's nice with the app. The styling on this bike is classic. It is unique looking. There is nothing else that looks like this, and it's a real love it or hate it. So you either think this is the coolest looking bike ever, or you think it is a weirdo hipster bike and you want nothing to do with it. I'm not sure there's a lot of in between there. There's not a lot of people that are like, it's fine. It's the perfect bike to take to the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, for instance. It's got that retro vibe. The standing position is actually shockingly comfortable. The bars are high enough for it, and what's nice is there's this indentation right here, so your knees lock in right here, and that is more or less directly above the pegs. So there's really nowhere else to be able to squeeze the bike, so you have to have a straight lower leg, which is something I struggle with, staying in that proper riding position. This bike really helps you with that. I'm not saying it's the most aggressive bike. It's not the best bike for aggressive riding. I don't think that's what it's designed for, but if you want to stand up and ride hard, you can, and it really helps you make sure that your legs are in that proper straight up and down lower leg position. Another cool thing is you can get factory tubeless tires, so you just pay a little bit more. It's only $100 more to get tubeless versus tubed tires. That comes with a different set of rims. They're black spoked rims, unlike the gold ones that you see on this Himalayan. Whether you go with the tubeless or the tubed tire option, you're going to want to make sure that you're carrying a tire changing kit and have the ability to fill up tires after you've changed them or patched the flat in the field. My personal favorite way to do that is with the Fanttik X9 Pro. It's more compact than their previous version, and it weighs less than a pound. It has a maximum inflation pressure of 150 PSI, meaning you can use it on your motorcycle and in your car or truck. And with the intelligent mode, you can set your desired pressure and walk away because it'll stop automatically when it hits it. The 8.5 watt-hour battery will run for 23 minutes, so you're covered for multiple flats in the field, hopefully a feature you don't end up needing. And with the accessory storage slot design, you don't need to carry an additional bag or worry about your accessories disappearing into the bottom of your luggage. The hose is permanently attached, and the thing couldn't be simpler to use. Just pull out the end of the hose to activate and push it back into the body to turn it off. I tested it and was able to inflate the front tire of my 300L to the manufacturer recommended pressure of 22 PSI in 50 seconds, less than a minute. I've owned and used the previous version with no issues, and a ton of you bought them on my recommendations last time. I've heard nothing but good things from all of you that picked them up then. The new one is smaller and faster and available right now for a stupid low price if you use promo code DORKX9 Pro when you buy it using the link in the description. The X9 Pro is now available in this super cool 90s retro style see-through gray plastic. So there's two colors, there's this and the black. Both are available at the link in the description. Use my promo code DorkX9Pro to save a bunch of money and get this thing for an unbelievable price. There's a lot to love about the Himalayan 450, but it's not perfect. Let's talk about some cons to this motorcycle. One, wind protection is lacking. I have the taller screen on here. This is the extended height screen, and I'm still getting a lot of buffeting around the edges, and the buffeting does just hit me right in the peak of my helmet. I'm only 5'10", so I'm not exceptionally tall. On the one with the lower stock windscreen, your helmet is just in the wind, which is better than buffeting in some cases, or not, depending on what you're wearing and how you like it. But just know there's not a ton of wind protection. It's essentially a naked bike with a small windscreen up front. You can ride and pass at freeway speeds, but it definitely runs out of steam and hits the red line a lot sooner than you expect. I have more than once, just yesterday on my long road trip, downshifted and went to pass somebody and been accelerating and have it drop out, not knowing what happened. It's because I hit the red line. So you'll red line pretty quickly on this bike, so you got to be ready for that and think about it. It is a 450 after all, but just know there's a lot more shifting gears, a lot more downshifting if you need to get speed quickly, but you can do those things. I was passing people like normal yesterday on my long road trip. I've done it on the freeway, so it has the power. It's just got 450 power, so you got to use and take advantage of that gear ratio as well as what the horsepower is giving you. 4 words in my notes here: stock tires are ass. They really are. I don't like them. If you're going to be on the street a lot, they're great. If you're never going to do anything more than a gravel road, they're probably fine. If you're a better rider than me, you might get by on those, but they don't have a lot of width in the tread pattern. It's not a knobby. It doesn't clear out very well. It's why we had all those problems with the super sticky mud on the launch, and I didn't even go for one ride with the stock tires. I put these Tusk waypoints on it as soon as it arrived. I would advise you to do something similar if you're thinking of doing even 50-50, 50% road, 50% off-road. You can get a more aggressive tire that is just as good on the road and not get stuck because you can't get any traction in anything slippery like you will with the stock tires that I do not like. A weird thing about this bike to me, and maybe it's psychological because it's so much metal, I don't know, but it feels much heavier than it is. I was almost embarrassed to put up my picking it up video after I dropped it a few times and picked it up because I thought it would be easy. It's only 430 pounds supposedly, but I had a hell of a time getting this thing off the ground, and I'm not really sure what that's all about. I noted that in my initial review too. It felt heavier than I thought it should be at 430 some pounds. Some of that is that this is the gas tank. It's up on top. It's big, 4.5 gallons right up top. That's over 30 pounds. You're trying to lift, you know, that extra 30 pounds up on top. That makes getting it up a little harder. At my age, that's par for the course. I don't know what it is. It feels heavier than it is in a way that other similar weight bikes don't feel that way. The 790 as a comparator weighs 30 pounds more, but sure as hell doesn't feel like it because the gas tank is down low. It feels heavy. It looks like a DR650, but it does not feel like one when you go to pick it up. There are reliability questions. I think those come up with just about any bike that isn't made by a Japanese manufacturer, but they are offering a 3-year warranty that is unlimited mileage. So, you know, if you're worried about it, you've got peace of mind. At least they'll cover any defects that crop up. Royal Enfield makes 1 million motorcycles a year, so they've kind of got it figured out by now. These are the bikes that are just ridden all over the Himalayas and just beaten on in India day in and day out. So it'll probably survive whatever a weekend warrior like me can throw at it over the course of 3 years. It is underpowered for a highway bike. It's not the same as a GS or even a 700, but it's a 450. It's not going to be, as I mentioned. That's a con if you really just want the ultimate easy highway cruising experience. But if you want to actually ride a motorcycle, use the gears, have fun, there's a pro there too. So take it or leave it, but it's underpowered for a lot of highway riding compared to bigger bikes. Obviously, it is only a 450. The front fender was a problem on our ride on the launch because the mud got caked in there and it got stuck. It's probably overblown. That was that super alkali, super sticky soil like they have out in Eastern Oregon. And any regular mud is not going to pack up in there like that as badly. But if this was my bike, I would probably take a Dremel and take that front fender off, the lower one. There's 2, as you can see, and just keep the fork guards. That's up to you, but it can be a problem because it is awful close to that front tire. But it will keep the water off you if you're riding in the rain a lot. And the last con is it has a 17-inch rear tire, which means technically there are fewer tires available. A lot of tire manufacturers make 18-inch rears, but don't make 17-inch rears. There's still plenty of options. Like I got the waypoints, so I'm happy. You can get the 2 tracks that I like a lot in these. A lot of manufacturers make them, but you're just going to find the list is a lot shorter for a 17-inch rear. You have the same problem on the KLR and other bikes that have 17-inch rear tires. So the biggest question and probably one of the most searched for things on YouTube right now in terms of adventure bikes is, how does the Himalayan 450 compare to the CFMOTO Ibex 450? I have ridden an Ibex 450. I spent a day on it. I have one coming any day now, supposedly, so my plan is to make a much more in-depth comparison once I've ridden that bike for close to 1,000 miles. But in terms of just like quick and dirty, you're trying to make a decision or at least point yourself in the right direction, let me give you some sort of either-or scenarios that'll help you decide maybe which one makes the most sense for you. Do you want to sit down and putt up and around stuff and get there when you get there? The Himalayan will do that. It'll carry you wherever you want to go. Do you want to ride hard and fast and constantly be pushing? The Ibex is more of an upright, hard-charging bike. This is more of a casual, we'll get there bike. Do you want a simple, easy, and classic-looking motorcycle? Go with the Himalayan. Do you want a more modern bike with a ton of electronics and gadgets? Go with the Ibex. That's not to say the Hemi doesn't have some electronics, but the Ibex definitely has more. There's traction control and stuff. Do you hate Chinese bikes? Go with the Himalayan. Do you hate Indian bikes? Go with the Ibex. Do you hate both Chinese and Indian bikes? Buy a DR650. Do you want to sit on the bike and just cruise places? I think the Himalayan is the bike for you. If you're not interested in riding as hard and fast as possible, you just want to get there and know this thing will get you over whatever crops up in between you and your destination, it's a great bike for that. Do you want to ride hard and fast as possible? You want to push a 450 to its absolute limit? Then the Ibex might be a better choice for you. It's not as black and white as this, but if you want to get a rough sense for each and the differences between them, you know, off the top of my head, that's what I would say. There you go. So what is my final conclusion? What is the verdict after a few months with the Himalayan 450? These bikes are built to carry people and cargo up through and around the Himalayas. It's right there in the name. These are the bikes you see crossing narrow-ass suspension bridges over impossibly deep chasms between massive cliff sides in India. This bike is a mountain goat. If you want to just cruise and get places without worrying about how fast you get there or how hard you'll have to work, this thing just goes. It's not a hard-charging, difficult-to-handle colt. It's more like an old mare, sure-footed and calm. Many people raise reliability and longevity questions, and fair enough, but Royal Enfield makes 1 million motorcycles a year, and they are used daily in some of the toughest conditions on Earth. They're simple machines built to be ridden by people in flip-flops. They said so at the press launch event I went to. That's why the rear brake lever is so big. And they're also meant to be repaired with a crescent wrench and a Hindu prayer. This bike will take a beating and keep on bleeding. B-L-E-A-T, like a goat bleeding, whatever, it's the best I had. The 3-year warranty adds a lot of peace of mind, and by the time it runs out, well, the damn thing is so cheap you'll have gotten your money's worth whether you decide to keep it or not. In my initial review, I said, it's a bike that would make a great first moto. It's also a great first adventure bike. It's also a great bike for someone with off-road experience that just wants a simple, low-cost, easy-to-ride bike to take them anywhere they want to go. It is in the running for best first ADV bike ever, and the price is unbelievably low. I love it when my first impressions turn out to be right. I'm very happy to report that after an extended time with this bike, everything that 2024 Dork said at the end of last year is absolutely right. If you want to just sit down and ride no matter the terrain, this is the sure-footed mare for you. If you want to attack more difficult terrain, it'll do that too, but to me it feels most comfortable just deliberately tractoring up whatever you put in front of it. It's an amazing value and you get a ridiculous amount of bike for your money. Whether you're brand new to ADV or motorcycles in general, or an experienced off-road veteran, you will find something to love about the new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. Don't believe me? Maybe pop over and check out the Ride Apart review entitled Buying Something Other Than a Himalayan 450? You're an idiot. Best headline ever. I just want to say thanks one more time to Fanttik for sponsoring this video and keeping me well stocked in tire inflators. This thing is always in my bag in my tire changing kit, and it's super useful both on the motorcycle and around the house for my bike, my trailer tires, whatever. So check out the link and pick up yourself a cheap X9 Pro using my promo code. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on that upcoming Ibex versus Himalayan 450 comparison video and a whole slew of Ibex 450 content coming just as soon as the damn thing shows up, which they keep telling me is any day now. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!